Hey guys, I'm Sunny with Parents on Demand. Thanks so much for joining us today. Parents on Demand, if you haven't heard of us before, we are a podcast network and we're geared towards parents and families. So if you create that type of content, reach out to us. I'd love to hear from you and see if our network is a good fit. One of the things we love to do is help our members with all things podcasting, and marketing seems to be at the top of that list. If you are creating content that's focused on parents and families, you know that you need to be on Facebook, right? That's where our audience is. That's a big place where our audience is. But the question is, how do you promote your content and how do you reach out to people and get them to listen to your show? And that's what we're going to focus in on today. I'm not an expert in this area, but I happen to know one. Meg Brunson is a member of our network, actually. She produces a podcast called Familypreneur, and she also used to work at Facebook. So how fortunate are we? Meg, thanks so much for being with us today. Can you tell us a little bit first about what you did at Facebook?
Sure. So I always joke around and say I was the janitor, but that's not true. I worked as a Facebook marketing expert. That was actually my title. And I was a part of the marketing expert program where we did customer service type outreach for small to medium sized businesses to help ensure that their Facebook ads were optimized and running effectively. It was positioned to be customer service, but at its core, it was a sales position for Facebook because
Sure.
If you're performing well on the platform, you're going to spend more money and then their revenue goes up. So that's what I did while I was there.
Okay, great. So Meg, tell us, in your opinion, should podcasters be on Facebook promoting their episodes? Is it worthwhile for us?
Well, I think everybody should be everybody is on Facebook. So for that reason, you should be on Facebook promoting your episodes for sure. I think people underestimate sometimes that they'll be discovered on Facebook. People will go to Facebook to search for information the same way that they'll go to Google to search for information. So they may go to Facebook and be searching for, maybe it's not even your podcast, but maybe it's something that's just named something similar and you show up in a search. So Facebook allows you to be discoverable. And if they hear about you from someone else, they may go to Facebook to find the podcast. I know sometimes I'll Google something and it doesn't come up in those top results because SEO is wonky. So you go to Facebook to see if you can find the business that way. And you need to have a presence there. It's just like your storefront. A website's just not enough anymore.
Okay, and by presence, you're talking about a Facebook page. Is it important to have groups as well, or does it just kind of depend on the podcast?
So I always say have a business page. A business page is mandatory, like for any type of a business, and a podcast would be included in that. A group is different. The group is really for building community. And so your podcast very well could do well both as a page and as a group, but having the page is necessary because it provides that storefront for your business. And it also will allow you to run ads if and when you're ready to do that. With a group, you can't run ads.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about algorithms. This has become, I feel like it's become kind of a joke. People talking about, oh, Facebook's algorithms. And, based on your experience and what you know about Facebook, how important is it for us to be relying on organic traffic versus paid ads?
Well, organic reach is pretty sad right now. It used to be that you could post to Facebook and people who liked your page would see your content. And I think the important thing to remember is just the reason why the algorithm exists. And it's because Facebook wants to keep people on the platform. The problem is when you think about yourself and how many pages you like. Most of us like hundreds of pages, especially when we're in this space, but right? As a podcaster, you have 100 friends who are podcasters and you like all of those pages just to be supportive, but we're not spending enough time on the platform to consume all that content and to see all of the content from your 500 friends and your 300 groups, or there's too much. It's a supply and a demand issue. Mm-hmm. So Facebook is attempting to put the content in your feed that you want to see based on what you've engaged with and interacted with recently. So it's not really a bad thing. It's frustrating as a business owner because we want that reach. But when we understand where it's coming from, right, it's understandable why they've done it. So you definitely want to be posting stuff regularly, but you have to understand that your reach isn't going to be as strong as it used to be because of that supply and demand issue.
Okay. So then what do we do? It sounds like this is kind of going into encouraging people to do paid ads. And that can be frustrating as a podcaster because you're thinking, first of all, my podcast isn't making much money or perhaps any money right now. And then I'm supposed to run ads for this. And it can get kind of frustrating. But is that kind of where we're going, is saying maybe running some promoted ads or, promoting your podcast in some way by paying some money on Facebook might be a better option?
And I think that you're onto something here. So with the fact, if your podcast is not making any money, period, then I do caution you against investing a ton of money into the platform. I always want to be able to see a return on my investment from what I'm paying to Facebook. Marketing shouldn't be an investment that you never see again. It should be more like an ATM where you're putting money in and you know what you're getting out of it. So the first step is evaluating where your podcast fits into your business or marketing strategy. Is it making you money, or is it in your sales funnel in some way? So my podcast, I don't have sponsorships, but I'm using it as a way to attract my ideal clients.
Right.
So it is still part of my marketing funnel, even though my podcast on its own isn't monetized. So it's having that in mind. And then Facebook ads really are the most affordable type of advertising that exists out there. When you look at cost per impression, like you can't get a commercial or a newspaper ad for the same cost as you can a Facebook ad. And who reads the newspaper anymore? So Facebook ads are really effective and really affordable when you know how to use them. So that's why when I left Facebook and I decided to start a podcast, I knew that I needed to figure out how to crack that code on how to use Facebook ads in a strategic way to grow my podcast. And I've run a ton of tests over the past 6 months, always on $40 per episode. So I wanted to keep it reasonable, like small.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the way I look at it is the amount of time it would take me to post and post and post numerous times over the course of a week on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, all of these different places, just to get the amount of reach that I can get for $40 a week. My time is worth more than the cost of that Facebook ad. So it's like I am spending money on promoting my podcast, but it's allowing me to spend less time promoting my podcast, which is just as valuable to me as the money.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point to bring up, because so many times as podcasters, we're trying to do everything for free. And we think, well, this may take a lot more time, but it's free. And then when you add up the amount of time, like as a podcaster myself, I would want to know going into something, listen, Sunny, you can post 10 posts and, make them nice and pretty and links and all that good stuff and get the same result of doing one post that you pay $40 for or $20 for or whatever. That's very helpful because time is money. Like we're all kind of in the business of making money and, evaluating what our time is worth. And I think that's an important point to bring up, that sometimes podcasters, we're trying to do everything for free. And if we had that comparison side by side, I think a lot more people would be like, you know what, I'm going to do one post. I'm going to, run some money on it, and I'm going to achieve the same thing with far less work and frustration.
I'm a huge fan of ads. And I've got the stats that show that my growth was pathetic and actually declining in the early months of my podcast. I don't know why. We won't talk about that. But as soon as I started putting some money behind it, and again, not a ton of money, like that's the other thing, not a ton of money, $40 a week, all of a sudden my lines were going back up.
Give us some insight on that, because now everyone's wondering, well, what did Meg do to suddenly, yes, you put some money behind it, but there are various ways to promote content on Facebook, right? You can get likes to your page. You can have someone try to, click on something you posted, or perhaps there's an ad that takes you to another site. So what have you found that has worked with Facebook ads in your podcast?
Well, what I did is I thought about, as a podcaster, what do I want to see? And what I really want to see are downloads and subscribers. Yes. Now, of course, as a podcaster, I don't even see subscribers. Like there's nowhere you can go to be like, how many subscribers do I have? It's not like email where you can see that easily. So I'm relying pretty much on download numbers and using those to strategically try to estimate what my downloads look like,
Uh-huh.
The one strategy I came up with right after Google Podcasts launched. So now we've got Apple Podcasts and we've got Google Podcasts. And like 99% of the population either has an Apple phone or an Android phone. So what I've done is I went in and I created two different ad sets. One of them is going only to Apple users, and one of them is going only to Android users. And they're only going on people's phones. So you won't see them on your computer.
Okay.
You'll only see them on the phone. Each one links directly to my show in their platform's player. So my Apple users are seeing an ad, and when they click on it, it opens in iTunes to my show link.
Okay.
And my Android users, when they click on it, it opens in Google Podcasts to my show link. So then they can listen to any of my shows, or they can hit the subscribe button. So that was the way I wanted to get people when they were on their phones, when it would be easy for them to just subscribe to my show, even if they don't have time to listen to it now, and build a listenership that way.
Okay.
But it's a strategy that's specific for podcasters and customized to get people onto your show.
And what kind of results did you see from that?
So my cost, and again, the costs and stuff are going to vary. So this is dependent on your copy, your creative, your targeting, and these are just the early stages of my testing. So it's important to know that I still could see potentially better results,
Sure.
Or worse results. That could happen too. But on that specific ad, I was getting clicks between 20 and 30 cents. So that's not a bad click-through rate. Now, the bummer is that I don't know how many of those people subscribed. All I can really see is that my download numbers are increasing. And when I stopped advertising, they did decrease, but they stayed above the trajectory that they were going at before. Does that make sense?
It does. So are you saying that, at least in the strategies and what you've done, that you don't necessarily recommend for podcasters to promote individual episodes, that it really should be more about targeting them and making sure that they're subscribing or seeing your entire library of content?
I think it still could be individual episodes. You would just want to build them as a traffic campaign leading to a destination website where they can either listen, subscribe, or download your podcast, as opposed to boosting a post where they're going to heart or thumbs up your content,
Right.
but not actually listen. Like, we want to get them listening. So like my strategies are really focused on getting the audio into your listeners' ears.
I know you just got back from DC Podfest. You were a speaker. You were actually talking, to the group about how podcasters can use Facebook. And that is actually going to be available online. There's a way to watch that?
Yeah, I just got back from DC Podfest. It was absolutely amazing. So like I said, I've just run these 6 months worth of testing, and I presented my findings and the strategies to a packed room, and they gave me a ton of positive feedback. Do you want me to give you the link?
Yeah, go ahead. Give us the link.
You can head over to megbrunson.com. So that's my name, megbrunson.com/POD. And there will be an opt-in there. When you put in your email address, I'll email the video over to you so you can check it out. But I go through all 4 strategies, the one that I talked about today, and then 3 other ones.
I love it. And how else can we connect with you online, Meg?
Oh gosh, my website's the best place to go, megbrunson.com. You'll find links to Facebook and Instagram and email. And I love talking to people, especially meeting other podcasters. So definitely feel free to reach out however is most convenient for you, and we'll connect for sure.